Hey Pewter Report listeners, James Hill here, back with yet another video, and I want to talk about yet another player that has been getting some praise from offensive coordinator Dave Canales, and that is former Maryland wide receiver Raheem Jarrett, who Dave Canales described recently here on the Pewter Report podcast as a guy that can do some really good things once he gets the ball in his hands. Now, I know that whenever we've talked about the undrafted free agent signings that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made, a lot of people go back to Raheem Jarrett as one of their favorite signings the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made. It's understandable to see why. 6 feet tall, 192 pounds, ran a 4.44 40-yard dash, 35.5-inch vertical jump, 10-foot, 3-inch broad jump, and 13 reps on the bench press. According to Lance Zierlein of the NFL Network, he was projected to be a 5th or a 6th round draft pick, but fell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an undrafted guy. A lot of people feel pretty confident that Jarrett can make the Buccaneers roster, maybe as a 5th or 6th wide receiver, and I completely get that. I really do. Whenever you go back to his time at Maryland, he had 3 years there, and all in all, his best season was 2021, 62 receptions, 829 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. In 2022, only played in 11 games, 40 receptions, 471 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. But I still believe Jarrett is a guy that certainly has a lot of ability to be a versatile wide receiver for the Bucs. And yes, he will be competing with a lot of different guys. We already talked about Trey Palmer. We've already talked about Devin Tompkins. There's another wide receiver that we haven't talked about yet, and David Moore, a very solid veteran. I'll probably be making a video talking about him at some point. But Raheem Jarrett is certainly in that mix, right? I think it is definitely notable that Dave Canales singled out a guy like Raheem Jarrett. And whenever I take a look at that quote too of, he's a guy that is better whenever he gets the ball in his hands rather than, or is faster, I guess I should say, whenever he gets the ball in his hands. That was the exact quote, is that he's a guy that gets faster once he gets the ball in his hands from Dave Canales. You think about the screen game. I think that that is certainly an opportunity where Raheem Jarrett can certainly showcase his abilities. I think that that is, again, a really interesting thing to see for Jarrett in preseason games or in training camps and whatnot. Are they going to use Jarrett in the screen game? Are they going to use him, obviously, in the short to intermediate passing game? Get him into open space, work him to where he can get yards after the catch. Those are all the different types of things that you're going to be looking at with a wide receiver like Raheem Jarrett, because if it is true that he gets faster once you get the ball in his hands and once he gets ahead of steam and he's able to get the ball rolling, then that's going to be the best way to use him, right? Is using him in a screen game, getting him out into open space, maybe using him in some RPO stuff, whatever it may be. You want to get a guy like Raheem Jarrett out in the open so he is able to do the most with those types of opportunities once he gets the football in his hands. So again, this is just another guy that you look at and it's like, man, he's coming into his first year, undrafted free agent. That's going to put a chip on his shoulder, and he's coming into a pretty wide open competition after the top 3 wide receivers that the Buccaneers have. If they carry 6 wide receivers, gosh, maybe they even carry 7 wide receivers. I think that I understand why people feel confident that Raheem Jarrett can make a name for himself, can be a guy who is going to be able to go out there, showcase what he can do, and potentially crack the roster as a 5th or 6th wide receiver, maybe even go a little bit higher. Again, you've got some very strong competitors there in David Moore, Trey Palmer is there. You have some returning wide receivers in Devin Tompkins and, some other guys that we'll be talking about in future videos. But Raheem Jarrett, I think, is a guy that you can put on your roster as a 6th wide receiver. Maybe have him be a backup returner, something along those lines. That was something that he did at Maryland a little bit in 2021. He had 9 total kick returns for 158 yards. So it's not like that is a foreign concept to him. He has done that before. You could possibly see a guy like Jarrett make the Buccaneers roster. I would say at the very least could be a guy for the practice squad, right? And I think that even on the practice squad, you would have to think, man, is a team going to sign a guy like Raheem Jarrett to be their 6th wide receiver or maybe their 5th wide receiver? should be an interesting situation. And I think it just goes to show that the Buccaneers continue to really churn that wide receiver room and just continue to find some talented guys from so many different types of places, right? Free agent signings, late draft picks, undrafted guys. The Bucs are certainly not shy of exploring every single type of avenue for wide receiver talent. Raheem Jarrett is one of the latest examples of that, and it is understandable to see why so many people are excited and should be excited for Raheem Jarrett. But at the end of the day, it is going to be a competition. We will see if Raheem Jarrett can prove himself and crack the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 53-man roster. Folks, what do you guys think about Raheem Jarrett? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, folks, we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream here on Pewter Report. But until then, and as always, folks, goodbye for now, and see you soon.